Yesterday was election day, so of course I'm going to talk about the results coming out of the polls, as well as Tropical Storm Nicole, and also the climate conference COP27. I'm Michele Carroll. Welcome to the News Diet, where I give you to-the-point news Monday through Thursday. Polls are closed and ballots are in. And while not all results are officially called yet, we do have a good idea of who came out on top of this year's midterm elections. If you want more of a general breakdown of how midterms work, feel free to check out this episode from a few weeks ago where I break down the reasoning and process of these elections. You probably already know that up to this point, data was pointing to a potential red wave, meaning many thought that Republicans were going to sweep victories throughout the country. There were predictions of a strong majority in the House and likely, but slimmer, majority in the Senate, and also eyes were on close race governorships. Well, some races are still being counted, and we're still waiting to know the new congressional makeup, but it does seem like Republican candidates aren't performing as strongly as thought. First, let's start with the Senate, where Democrats have barely held a majority the last 2 years. As of this morning, Dems had held on to 48 seats and the GOP 47, with 5 seats still uncalled. Whoever reaches 51 holds the Senate. Races have yet to be called in the battleground states of Nevada, Arizona, and in Georgia. And these matter because if Democrats want to hold the majority, then they can only afford to lose one of these seats. Next, the House. There's a lot more seats up for grabs in the House, so these races are expected to take more time to settle. Some states could take days or possibly even weeks to call. But what we do know is that 199 seats have been called for the GOP and only 172 for Dems, but there's still 64 seats unknown. For governorships, Republicans have so far lost 2 seats, and Democrats gained 2 seats, with 5 still unknown in Nevada, Arizona, Alaska, Kansas, and Oregon. Even without a red wave, congressional majorities have yet to be called for either party, but more results are likely to come out today and the rest of the week, if not month, so be sure to tune in for updates as they unfold. Before moving on to the next story, I just want to ask if you can hit that subscribe button so you can continue to get notifications on new episodes and follow along as the news diet grows. Only a few weeks after then massive Hurricane Ian swept through Florida, and already another one is set to hit the state's East Coast today or tomorrow. Tropical Storm Nicole is expected to make landfall as a Category 1 hurricane, which means that winds are likely to reach between 74 and 96 miles per hour. According to the National Weather Service, flooding, as well as large waves and rip currents, are expected to extend from Florida all the way up to North Carolina. There's also predictions of up to 7 inches of rain and a storm surge that could rise up to 5 feet along the coast. To prepare, Florida's busiest airport, the Orlando International Airport, has announced a suspension of operations starting at 4 p.m. today, and some East Coast counties have ordered mandatory evacuations, and also more than 15 million people are under a tropical storm watch warning. Florida is still recovering from Category 4 Hurricane Ian, which resulted in the deaths of 147 people, the displacement of over 40,000 people, and over $50 billion in damage. Tropical Storm Nicole is not expected to be as strong or as destructive as Ian, but it is still unusual in that it's the first hurricane to hit the U.S. in the month of November since Category 2 Hurricane Kate in 1985. Switzerland had set an ambitious goal to cut greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030, but their tactic to do so has started a conversation on how exactly countries who have pledged to do similar reductions should or shouldn't go about it. So what Switzerland is doing is planning to invest in helping poorer countries reduce their emissions to then take the credit to go towards their goal. They say that this is a win-win because it's helping other nations in their renewable energy efforts and also takes some pressure off of themselves, considering that Switzerland already relies on renewable sources like nuclear and hydroelectric power for the bulk of its electricity. Meaning, they say that this makes it more difficult to cut back on gas even more than they already have. But critics claim that this strategy is just outsourcing the responsibility onto these poorer nations. And apparently, many of the projects that Switzerland would be funding were already underway, like making public buildings more energy efficient. So the criticism is that they're just piggybacking off their plans to just take credit, essentially. And they also wonder if this will put more pressure on these countries to then have to take on more difficult or more expensive projects to continue to meet their own goals. Switzerland has signed agreements with 8 nations, including Peru, Ghana, Thailand, and Ukraine. The 2015 Paris Agreement, which is focused on climate issues, actually does allow 4 countries to cooperate in their greenhouse gas reductions. But apparently, these details still need to be smoothed out to make sure that reduction goals aren't being double-dipped and that partner nations are properly executing on their commitments. This comes as the UN climate conference COP27 started this week in Egypt, which is a 2-week meeting between heads of state, representatives, and climate activists to discuss climate issues. You've just been informed, so now it's time to get on with your day. I'm Michele Carroll. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode and want to continue following a healthier alternative for staying informed, where I forgo partisan fighting and fear-driven narratives and just get to the point, then please be sure to hit that subscribe button, as of course you'll get more of this show in your feed, and also you'll be helping this new channel grow and reject sensational media. Thank you so much for your support, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.